All right, let's talk about something that I see all the time, something that quietly tanks so many beginner UX portfolios. It's this habit that feels super productive. It even looks like you're making amazing progress. But honestly, it's probably the biggest mistake you can make when you're just starting out. Let's dive in.
Okay, be honest. Does this look familiar? You get this great idea for an app, and what's the first thing you do? You fire up Figma. You start drawing screens, moving things around, and yeah, it feels great, right? Like you're actually making something. But here's the thing. As normal as this feels, it's a total trap.
This right here, this quote gets to the heart of it. Seeing something on your screen isn't the same as making progress. Just because you've got a pretty button or a slick layout, it doesn't mean you're one step closer to actually solving a real person's problem. And that distinction, it's everything.
So yeah, let's just call it what it is. This is a beginner's biggest mistake. It's this whole tool-first mindset, where Figma, or whatever tool you use, isn't just a part of the process, it is the process. It's where everything starts.
And that really gets to the core of the problem, right? Look, being a Figma wizard, knowing all the plugins, mastering auto layout, that's an awesome technical skill to have. Seriously. But it is not the same thing as learning UX design. Not even close. One is about knowing a piece of software, the other is about solving human problems. So to really nail this down, I think we need to completely reframe how we think about Figma in the first place. Let's talk about what these amazing tools are actually for, and maybe more importantly, what they can't do.
Here's the key. Figma is a design execution tool. That's it. Its whole job is to take the smart decisions you've already made and make them look good. It's the paintbrush, not the artist's brain. It should be one of the last things you touch, not the first. And this slide breaks it down perfectly. Over on the left, yeah, that's Figma's territory. Drawing stuff, moving pixels, making clickable prototypes, that's the how. But look at the right. That's your job. That's the real work of a designer. The what and the why. Defining the problem, figuring out who the user is, deciding what this thing even needs to do. Figma doesn't do any of that for you. It can't.
You know, if this still feels a little fuzzy, let's try an analogy. Let's think like a software engineer for a minute.
Okay, so in the world of engineering, can you imagine a developer getting praised for just opening their code editor and starting to type with no plan, no requirements? Of course not. That's considered terrible practice. You would never, ever build something without knowing exactly what it's supposed to do. It's just a recipe for disaster.
So when you, as a designer, say, I opened Figma to get started, well, that's the exact same mistake. It's no different from an engineer saying, I just started writing code to see what would happen. You're literally skipping the most important part of your job.
So what's the big deal? What actually happens when you work this way? Well, what you end up with is just guesswork. It's pure guesswork, but it's dressed up to look smart and professional because you made it in Figma.
Let's take a super common portfolio project, the Instagram redesign. The tool-first way to do this is on the left. You jump in, change some colors, move the buttons around, maybe add a feature that you've always wanted. But in the process, you skip all the hard questions on the right. Like, who are you even designing for? What problem are they having? Do you have any proof? Without that, it's not a UX project. It's just digital arts and crafts.
Okay, let's try another one. Imagine you're making a new fintech app. Before you even think about what a button looks like, you have to ask this. Who is this for? Is it for a total beginner who's scared of the stock market? Or is it for a pro who trades all day? Because those are two wildly different apps.
And what are they afraid of? What's their biggest fear here? Is it literally losing all their money? Or is it just feeling stupid and confused by all the jargon? The answer to that question completely changes how you design everything.
And that leads to the final question. What is the #1 job of this app? Is it to make investing super fast? Or is it to make it super easy to understand? Because those two goals could lead you in opposite directions. See? If you don't have answers to these things, any screen you draw is just a complete shot in the dark.
And that's the trap, isn't it? Figma lets you make your guesses look gorgeous, pixel perfect. But at the end of the day, a good-looking guess is still just a guess. The pretty UI is just hiding the fact that there's nothing solid underneath.
Okay, so I've spent all this time telling you what not to do. So what should you do? We need to talk about the work before the work. It's the messy part. It's the part that doesn't feel as productive, but it's the most important part of the entire process.
This slide really shows the difference in what progress feels like versus what it looks like. On the left, that's what jumping into Figma feels like. Productive, certain, like you're a real designer. But on the right, that's what real progress looks like. It's messy. It's sticky notes and tough questions and not having all the answers. It's uncomfortable. But that mess is where great design actually comes from.
So here you go, here's a checklist. Before you are even allowed to open Figma, you need these 5 things. You need to know the problem, who you're solving it for, have some actual evidence to back you up, have a super rough sketch of the flow on paper, and know how you're going to tell if you succeeded. If you can't check all 5 of these boxes, you don't get to open the tool. Simple as that.
So why am I harping on this so much? Why does it matter? Because let's be real, you're building a portfolio to get a job. And this thinking first approach, this is what hiring managers are desperately looking for. Let me give you the harsh truth. Recruiters and hiring managers can spot a portfolio full of pretty, empty screens a mile away. They look at it and they think, okay, this person knows how to use Figma, but they don't know how to think. They see a screen maker, not a problem solver. And guess what? They hire problem solvers.
Here's a great way to think about it. Figma is just a multiplier. That's all it is. If you have a solid, well-thought-out idea, Figma multiplies that and helps you communicate it brilliantly. But if you're starting with a weak idea or just a guess, well, Figma just multiplies your mistakes. It helps you make bad ideas look really, really good.
So if there's one single thing you take away from all this, let it be this rule. It's a simple test. If you can't explain your design, the problem, the user, the solution, without pointing to a screen, then you aren't ready to design the screen yet, period.
And so that leaves you with one last question to ask yourself. Go look at your portfolio right now. It definitely shows what you can draw, but does it show how you can think? Because that is what's going to get you hired.